everyone, and welcome to the first ever edition of Flyover Country. This is a YouTube channel that covers politics and different things of the time, and due to YouTube's regulations, or should I say, over-censoring and silencing of conservative speech, there are certain topics I won't cover on this channel, but I will be covering on my podcast exclusively. The transgendered issue is one of the ones that I will be covering. That will be my first ever podcast edition. But this one is rather simple. This one is on Ivy League schools, because here in Flyover Country, we hear the same thing you guys do in New York and everywhere else, that the elitists know so much more than everybody else, right? That you're not truly, to really measure someone's intelligence, you have to go to, the Ivy League schools, places like Harvard, like Mitt Romney, or places like Columbia, like Barack Obama. Let's take a look at these two schools. And I'm not even going to go into the details of the other ones, but they're all in the same boat as far as I'm concerned. First of all, here's my feeling in Flyover Country on those Ivy League schools. You aren't intelligent when you go to those schools. In fact, you're probably some of the dumbest people walking God's green earth. Let's analyze, for example, what Mitt Romney learned at Harvard. Mitt Romney learned at Harvard that you can impeach the president over anything you want as long as you have the numbers to vote. Mitt Romney learned at Harvard that due process is not a thing, that you aren't entitled to your Fourth, your Fifth, and your Eighth Amendment rights. No, not at all. Right to face your accuser? Non-existent according to Harvard. Right to have a fair trial? Not existent apparently at Harvard. See, at Harvard, they teach these idiots what the Constitution doesn't state, and then wants to claim that they're some kind of constitutional scholar and they know so much more than everybody else. These are some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life. You want to know something else that Harvard has taught the people of the United States of America? They apparently have taught people of the United States of America they don't know what Native Americans are, because they hired Elizabeth Warren, aka Dances with Bullshit, as their first ever person of color. Really? Person of color. Yeah, she's Native American, said no one ever that looked at her. Oh, but they also taught that racism's okay as long as it comes from the left. But that's something we've all known, right? We've known that since the beginning of time, right? That's always been the Democrats' MO, right? Let's be for slavery. Let's be for Jim Crow laws. Let's be for separate but equal. And then in the 2000s, or not even in the 1980s, let's flip the script and say, we're not racist, you're the racist ones. Oh, the Republicans are racist. The average American is racist. If you don't agree with me, you're racist. Well, that's also by design, because if you devalue the term racist, then it has no weight. And if it has no weight, then being called it just creates a situation, which is exactly what they want. So let me give you a little bit of background on me before I get into more detail on the waste of money that is the Ivy League schools and the festering cesspool that they actually are, okay? I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 16 years in the state of Arizona. That's right, I'm in Flyover Country, pretty much in the heartland. A lot of people in Arizona are shocked to find out that we're considered a southern state. Now some go, well, you're technically southwest. That's true. That is true. We are a southwestern state. But if you were to draw a line straight across from Mason-Dixon all the way through, Arizona's behind it, and therefore, under the technical Civil War term, Arizona's a southern state. Yet I don't sound southern. Y'all know a Texan. Y'all know a Georgian. But then you meet in Arizona, they're like, oh, where are you from? Arizona. Oh, okay. Southern California is across that Mason-Dixon line, right? Oh, south of the California. I know, I'm splitting hairs here. We're considered southwest, they're considered left coast. I get it. So, because I'm in Arizona, and I'm the neighboring flyover state to California, and the farthest flyover state to New York, I'm kind of in the middle here. And I've learned a lot over the years of being an educator. First of all, education is every bit as filled with liberal douche canoes as you could possibly imagine, right? It's not just douche canoes full of people. It's a douche space shuttle. I mean, this thing is a douche frickin' aircraft carrier. That's how many douchebags are actually in education. Now, you run into a few gold mines. You run into a few people that are old school liberals that are actually conservative. Shh, we're not allowed to say that in education. Otherwise, we can lose our jobs. Which I'll get to in a minute, too. I'm going to talk about those two issues because, in my opinion, they're linked. So being in education, I've really learned a lot from kids as far as what they've been taught and the sheer ridiculousness of wrong information that they've been taught. See, in education, they teach kids to hate America, to hate the Constitution, and to hate the Founding Fathers. I called into a show, the Seth Liebson show. He's out here in Arizona. I don't know if he's national yet. He's a pretty good dude. And I told him that I'm a constitutional teaching, founder fathers defending, American loving history teacher. I'm like one of three in the entire country, or so it feels. Now, I know there's more of us out there than lead to believe. And trust me, when it comes to voting for Donald Trump, those are the ones that can't be vocal. Because if we're vocal, we lose our job. And if we lose our job, because we get paid so much money, we have such a huge nest egg, we're okay, right? Now, education is one of the biggest discrepancy from top to bottom as far as who gets paid, right? Administrators get $110,000, $115,000, $120,000 a year, and we get paid $33,000, $45,000 to $50,000 if we're lucky. I know it depends on where you live, but by and large, it's a complete discrepancy in overpayment. And that's because all the education money and funding goes to administration and their pocketbooks and their wallets and their bank accounts. And I would say that they're all one and the same, but they have multiple accounts that they like to stash that money in so they can hide it and then claim, oh, we'll get ours during our 301 money. I'm not going to go into the details on what that is, but some of you that are educators are like, yes, yes, yes. And we're told we'll get it in 301 money, which is money that we get at the end of the year for doing our job, but then they find all of these ridiculous reasons why we didn't do our job. Well, little Susie didn't pass. Well, little Susie didn't show up to school. I can't teach her if she's not here. Well, that's not our problem. That sounds like an excuse. We're going to go ahead and mark that against you. Oh, okay. You didn't get a perfect score on the education evaluation scale. Well, you said that you don't give perfect scores on the evaluation scale because there's no such thing as perfect teachers. Yeah, well, it's still a mark against you. Sorry. Bing. So instead of getting your full thing, here you go. Okay. That's the way they keep their money, right? That's why they show up in the brand new Corvettes, Maseratis. I'm sure in some places they may even actually have a Lamborghini, although I haven't seen it yet. And teachers are showing up in beaters and, 2014 used, Chevys, which is basically too crappy to mention, right? Or they're showing up in, a Patriot, right? With roll windows, right? No automatic anything because we can't afford it. But, we're important. So again, back to Harvard. So Harvard hires Elizabeth Warren as the first person of color. So they obviously don't know a damn thing about race or the Native American community because they fell for that rope-a-dope. That's another thing. Talk about stupid, right? This is Harvard. I'm supposed to believe you're intelligent. Yet you believed a woman who said she was Native American. You took one look at her and, I don't know, did you ask the question? And if you did, was her, oh, well, my grandmother had high cheekbones and all natives have high cheekbones, therefore I'm Native. And you bought that? You bought that. So apparently, either you're the dumbest school in the history of America, which is very possible, or you've never met a Native American in your entire existence, which, again, with these liberal douche canoes, is extremely plausible, right? So there you go. Then you don't teach due process, right to face your accuser, right to cross-examine the defense, right to a fair trial. None of that you teach. And yet, I have a law degree from Harvard. Yeah? I got a bunch of crap in my toilet that I haven't flushed yet. Actually, it's not true. I have flushed it, but it's about the same, right? That's like me bragging about that. I'm sorry I'm not impressed. Right? Sorry for the gross analogy. But I don't care. That doesn't make me think you're smarter. In fact, I'm like, oh, okay. Do I have to spell dog for this person? Do you think they know what dog means? You think? I mean, they're from Harvard. No. I don't mean like what's up, dog, because we know they don't know that. No, I mean like poodles and no, okay, well, just all right. You're from Harvard. Nice to meet you. I graduated from ASU. Got my master's degree from Grand Canyon. Like, I'm not impressed. This is the same university that is bringing back separate but equal, right? They want to have at Harvard a black graduation and a white graduation because, that makes sense. This is the same. I found this out from my wife. As I said before, she went to Smith College. I found this out from my wife, which is an Ivy League school. And she is smart. She studied in the sciences, and she got lucky. And maybe the female Ivy League schools, which this wouldn't surprise me, maybe the female Ivy League schools is really where the prestige is at. Like, you graduated from Harvard, congratulations, I took a dump in my toilet, it's worth the same, right? But you graduate from a female Ivy League school, maybe these are the people that should be getting the high-paid jobs and being taken seriously. Because people like my wife, she's the smartest woman I've ever met, right? But put that aside. Maybe that's something that we should look at. But continuing with this, right? She told me that Scooby-Doo was based off of the Ivy League school. Like, each one represented one of the schools, right? Her words, not mine. Smith College is represented by the lesbian one, right? The one guy with the sweater vest is, I guess, either from Harvard or Princeton. And then, I don't know who Scooby's, whatever. But each one represents something. I'll have to cover that. The next time I do a YouTube show, I'll have to break down from her as far as which one represented which. But the dumbest cartoon ever made, the cartoon that basically they were too stupid to figure stuff out, just things happen to fall in their lap, is a representation of the Ivy League schools. That doesn't surprise me when you consider what I've been talking about, right? Like, these people are too stupid to mention. Now, Columbia. I'll touch a little bit on Columbia. Columbia apparently allows people to leave the university thinking communism is good, that domestic terrorism is okay as long as it's targeted against the right people, that apparently it's okay to attack, demonize, and dehumanize your enemy if they're Republican, but don't you dare talk about a foreign country in a negative way. Because that's what we had for 8 years under Barack Obama, right? Power manipulation of the IRS, selling of guns in Fast and Furious right here in Arizona, dealings with the drug cartel, mingling with people who are dealing with sexual deviants like Epstein and the Clintons and Weinstein. Like, that's okay. But you cling to your religion and your Bible and your guns, well, you're a threat and we have to eliminate you. That's what Columbia teaches. Doesn't sound like a university in Arizona. It sounds like the country Columbia, right? But that's what we're dealt with. That's what we get. So the next time somebody goes, I'm from Harvard, be like, congratulations, I don't care. You're an idiot. You're a moron. You're an elitist douchebag, and you have no intelligence in your skull cavity because they're not smart. And don't let anybody tell us that we're dumb. Because I'll tell you one thing, I know a hell of a lot more than some dummy from Harvard. Princeton, Yale, name it. None of those schools have produced anything of value to the United States of America. The only people that get into Harvard are the white elitist rich douchebags who've made it because their daddies got them in. And those that try to get in on merit, I had a kid at one of the schools I taught at trying to get into one of those Ivy League schools, was a freaking disaster to get that kid in. He never got in. He had to end up going to ASU. Super smart kid, but wrong skin color. Yeah, I said it. Wrong skin color. He wasn't white enough. You know, that's another thing I love about the left. They like to preach to us about how we're the racists, right? But they're the ones that constantly live by racism. Because that's what the left is. It's the definition of projection. I'm going to tell you how I think, but say it's how you think, so I don't get flack for thinking it, and I can feel better about myself for saying it's bad, even though I practice it every single day. Right? Now, the link. The reason people in education can't be vocal that are conservative is they won't get a job. They're either going to get fired. I mean, look at how many conservative teachers you have at Harvard. Okay? We know for a fact from the last election, bare minimum, there's 63 million, not even 63 million conservatives, because not everybody that was conservative voted for Trump. Some liberals voted for President Trump. But in 6 million, 316 million, whatever the number is, I don't even know what the number is in population in Arizona, in the United States of America. I said Arizona, I meant the United States. You're going to tell me that you can't find 3 teachers that are conservative for your university? And that's because they won't hire them. Because they find out through the interview process if you agree with their ideology and their communist manifesto, and if you don't agree with it, you get the boot. And God forbid you try to teach that communism is bad and capitalism is good. They'll fire you before you can blink 2 eyes. You're gone. They'll come up with some BS reason why they got to let you go. And you know when it's BS. So education, you can't be conservative. You have to hide. Because it's like being gay in Iran. They will kill you. Maybe not literally like they do in Iran to the homosexual community, but they will kill you financially if you come out conservative. So you have to be in the closet. You have to hide. If you're moderate, you have to hide. If you are a Democrat who supports President Trump, you have to hide. Because they'll come and get you. Because they're commies. Every one of them. And education's riddled with it. And that's what this whole podcast, or this whole YouTube show today was about. Was the just ineptitude of education in general. And we're supposed to believe that Harvard and the Ivy League schools are the gold standard in education. And yet they've produced some of the worst, most vile human beings to ever walk on this great country soil. That's just a fact. And most of them end up running for politics. So, that's one example of this show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe, hit the like button, keep sharing, get this video out there. This is what Flyover Country is all about. I appreciate some comments, good or bad. I appreciate some input, maybe something else you want me to talk about that here in Flyover Country we are noticing, but it's not getting vocalized on the networks. This channel's for you. This channel's for all of you. Because we need a voice, and I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to be that voice. And I'll do whatever I can to get it out there and get it heard. So, hope you like the show. Thank you for listening. God bless.